Welcome, low ego action heroes and phoenixes. I'm Debbie Levitt from dcx with a bit of a springtime allergy sniffle. I hope you are all doing well. Hello to Ana Lucia. Welcome to our usual Wednesday Ask Me Anything. Totally free mentoring advice and support and coaching on anything you might need help with. We will not be broadcasting next week. Yes. So, just know that if you do send in a question after today, we'll get to it in 2 weeks. So the way this works is everybody is welcome to send in one or more questions. You can ask follow-ups to other people's questions. It's totally no rules here. You can send the question in the chat where it pops up here on my screen with your name or fake name, or you can send it anonymously through dcx.to/Q for question, and that will come to my email. We can put it up on the screen. I don't have any questions ahead of time today. Ana Lucia says, my nose is much better, but yeah, sinusitis, right? And I am taking springtime allergy medicine, and it does help me a lot, but I think it's worn off a little bit by the end of the day, and I tend to take it in the morning. So maybe I have to start turning it into half a dose in the morning, half a dose later. So happy to talk about anything anybody wants to. Bring up any discussion topics you'd like to talk about. I usually stay 10 minutes. If there's no topics, we wrap up. Otherwise, I stay up to an hour if there are topics. So feel free to send in anything you want to talk about other than sniffly noses. Any topics, questions, they can be on the life side of our lives or the work side of our lives. It can be really anything you would like. I'm going to be impolite and blow my nose in front of everybody. It's not like it's a work meeting and I can turn off my camera for a moment. It's a live stream, so you're all stuck with me blowing my nose. So while we wait for a question, I'll open up my email to see if I'm missing anything. Just a reminder that everybody can find links to just about everything at dcx.to. I've got a few new things to add there that I haven't done yet, so there will be some fresh announcements coming soon of things. But definitely jump there for books, courses, what else? Our Discord community, which is luckily still active and growing and free, completely free. So yeah. We also have we've got a question. We also have a Life After Tech cohort starting the end of this week. If you would like some heavily discounted coaching on side businesses, entrepreneurship, getting out of tech, staying in tech, trying to find new work areas, go to dcx.to and follow that to courses, and you can sign up. It's very low priced, but if you need it to be lower, just reach out and tell me, and I'll figure out a discount coupon for you. Okay. Let's put our first question up on the screen. Definitely an interesting topic. And, I did it again. Wrong button. I have to hit 5. Okay, there. 5 slides it in instead of replacing me. So Ana Lucia asks, what are your thoughts about that Nvidia article from today? Do you think it's the first sign of an AI implosion of sorts? And so for those of you who are not familiar with this, there was an article that was recently published and is kind of making the rounds today. It's April 29, 2026. And it was basically some executive or leader from Nvidia saying that in general, the cost of AI at this time is not a savings over hiring humans. That in general, companies, probably not people, but companies using AI right now, and especially the way they're using it, they are likely to spend more on AI than they will on human salaries. This should make companies stop and think about what they're doing and where they are budgeting their money. And it should make them look more closely at the outputs and outcomes of using AI. Because even in our Discord, we have people telling stories about being forced to use AI at their jobs. They're going to be measured by how much they can automate or use AI for. We saw that Facebook is going to track every keystroke people are doing to train their AI to do these people's jobs. There's obviously a lot of different pieces of information going around right now. And I thought it would be interesting to ask Claude this question earlier today, to ask Claude's perspective on when do you think that AI will be significantly cheaper than hiring a human and just as good or better at doing that human's work? Because ultimately we have to have both. It can't just be cheaper but be terrible. That would ultimately not be a money savings, because very often when we look at are companies saving money on things, or what is the true cost of something? For example, let's say a company spends $100,000 in a month on Claude products and platform. Well, what's the real cost of that? The cost of that isn't just $100,000. The cost of that is also the time and the salaries of the people using Claude. The cost of that is also the bad decisions that are being made if there are hallucinations or bad data or other things. What's the cost of a bad decision? The bad decision can be losing time, creating crappy products and services, making customers unhappy, and now they're downgrading or leaving. So we must remember that the cost of something isn't just the one number that sometimes gets thrown out there. And especially with AI, we must also consider the cost of environmental damage, the cost of data centers, the cost of the electricity and water and other things that a data center uses. And so you can't just say, well, that costs us $100,000. That's the number we're working with. Not really. A good finance person will take a look at what the true positive and negative costs are and say, this is what this really costs us. And then the question would be, now compare that to a work that a human could be doing and the salary we would pay that human. And is AI saving us money? And is it helping us? Is it augmenting what we're doing? Sure, you can claim we're fast, but if we're fast but bad or fast but worse, then we're not really winning. We're just losing fast. Ana Lucia points out the billing is changing too. A lot of the AI companies are changing to charge by token, usage-based pricing versus just a flat subscription, and that can easily get out of control, especially as companies are pushing, if not forcing, their workers to use AI. Now you have people who are being told, burn tokens. We just want to see you using this stuff. Is anybody checking if it's being used well? I'm not hearing stories about that, but I imagine it could happen eventually, but I'm mostly hearing stories about companies trying to check, are you using AI? And we're going to check your token usage. I think a few months ago on LinkedIn, we saw some tech bro trying to flex that he decided to fire everybody who didn't notice that Claude was down that day. And it's like, I hope nobody applies to work for you ever again. Ana Lucia says, you can be augmented and overworked if bosses think now you're a superwoman with AI. No, you're only human. Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, we are only human, and there are ways that some AI tools can help, and there are way more ways that AI tools can hurt and work against us and deliver garbage that was not worth the tokens, not worth what we paid, not worth the environmental damage, not worth a lot of things. So do I think it's a sign of AI implosion? Not necessarily, because the problem is that we're in one of those, everyone says, oh, we're in an AI bubble, but let me explain a bubble of a different type. We're in a bubble where nobody wants to say, hi, I was the person who brought this much AI into this company and told them to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars each month on tokens, and oops, I was wrong. Oops, the math doesn't work out. Oops, the AI isn't doing a very good job. I'm the person who pushed everybody in the workplace to use Copilot for all of their tasks, and oops, I made a mistake. Well, that's not a mistake. That's a bad decision. You could have known. Many of us saw this coming. So it's only an implosion if there is accountability. And that's what a lot of the conversations on our channel tend to come back to. Will someone be held accountable for example, the wasted token usage of forcing people to use AI when they don't want to use it, don't need to use it, it's making their work worse or slower? Will anybody be held responsible for that? Because that's absolutely wasteful spending. People should definitely be held accountable. I'd love to see, I usually don't like to see people getting fired for stuff, but I would be okay if someone got fired for forcing people to use a tool that they don't want to use or can't use or shouldn't use, or forcing them to use it more than they need to or want to. Maybe your job should be on a plate. I'm old enough to remember when people did get fired for wasting the company's time and money and implementing systems that worked against what the company was trying to do. Once upon a time, people were held accountable for these things and they could lose their jobs. And maybe we would make better decisions if people understood that if the decision is bad, you could lose your job. But while people can make terrible decisions and burn endless money and keep their jobs, where's the implosion? The implosion implies accountability that I don't think anybody is going to, I don't know who's going to be held accountable for this. Ana Lucia says, you can be faster now, but it's not like you can do the work of a full team. Still, there are too many bosses thinking that you can. If bills get too high, I think companies will check that and maybe put some limits. I think that's likely the only way to make them realize how expensive AI actually is. Yeah, because ultimately, here's the message that I'm kind of hearing. When the message is AI is costing companies more than human salaries, there's like a kind of a missing piece there, and I didn't read the article, so you'll have to tell me if I missed the piece. But the missing piece should be, and it's worth it, or it's not worth it. Because just because something costs more doesn't mean that's necessarily a bad thing. It could be something costs more and we're spending more, but it's an investment, and that investment is paying off. And that's part of where we get that concept of ROI, return on investment. Hey, we're putting in more money into AI than we would have put into people's salaries, but holy cats, it's paying off. But if they're saying AI costs more than a human salary, I didn't read the article, but the headline makes it sound like, and it's not worth it yet. We're not seeing the benefits that would say that there's a great return on investment, that if you spend $100,000 in tokens per month, or you spend $1,000 per worker in tokens per month, that you're going to get some sort of return on investment. So my guess, and I didn't read all the articles on this, I just saw some of the headlines, is that the implication is that, and it's not worth it. And I think that's the more interesting message to take a look at, because you still have a lot of people saying, oh yeah, AI can do all these people's jobs, and it can do this task and that task, and it'll interview people, and it'll design, and it'll code. Oh yeah, get rid of all the humans, AI can do everything. But again, it sounds like it's not really worth it yet. And then the next question I asked Claude, when I asked it, like, when do you think AI would be a better investment than a human? And first Claude said, oh, maybe 3 to 5 years from now, the technology will be good enough and have come down in price enough where maybe investing in AI is better than hiring humans. But then Cherish, the always wonderful Cherish, said something interesting in our Discord community. And she said, but as AI and LLMs evolve, we keep getting better models, and these better models require more resources, more training. And so it's not like the AI we have today will suddenly be cheaper 5 years from now. The AI is evolving, and so it might also continue costing the same or even costing more because the models will be trained on more stuff and bigger and do more things and need more data centers and resources. So it's not guaranteed that the price of AI or the real costs of AI, when you factor in everything, are going to level off or go down. We're not guaranteed that. It could continue to cost more. And that's something that we're also not necessarily thinking of as part of this larger equation. Ana Lucia says, the article mentions the costs and how the promises aren't being fulfilled. They claim AI can do all this, but not really. It's not there yet. At this moment, it requires too much computation, which is expensive as hell. Right. And if it were today's computation on servers and technology 3 to 5 years from now, okay, that should drop in price. But when it's the technology and computation and training data and capabilities 3 years from now on the tech, then again, we're not guaranteed that this starts costing less. So I'm still predicting a little bump in rehiring, but not a huge bump in rehiring, because I think companies have been way too happy to lay people off and just make the remaining people scramble for scraps and make them work out of fear. I think companies, since they're so often run by malignant narcissists and leaders and executives can often be toxic, I think companies are having too much fun making people scramble for scraps and do less with less. And I'm still not predicting the real implosion or reckoning that other people think is going to come. AI is going to crash the plane and they're going to hire all of us back. I don't think so. I see a little bump in rehiring, which I think we're starting to see, where companies are going, all right, hold on a minute. I fired a bunch of developers and then I spent $100,000 in a month on tokens. What would humans have made in a month? Even if someone gets paid, let's say you have a junior who gets paid $1,000 American dollars a week. That's $4,000 in a month, and you burned $100,000. So you could have hired 25 people for that price. If AI is not doing the work of 25 people, or let's say 10 much better paid people, if they're more senior or lead or whatever, then you're not getting the return on investment. Ana Lucia says, I'm not sure about that. Google seems to be focusing a lot on optimizing AI. You can also have that Chinese company, DeepSeek, which has that model that was groundbreaking in costs. It's like in gaming. Video game companies stopped caring about optimizing, and now they're requiring higher specs to be able to play their stuff. If they don't change this philosophy, I'm predicting they will have lower sales. Who has the money to buy amazing computers right now? Another good point, right? Totally a good point. You can say, oh, this video game requires the latest Windows 11 machine with an Nvidia 5000 series RTX card and so on. Who's got that? That's going to be a very small group of people, and you can sell to them, but and then as for DeepSeek, I'm currently not doing business with Chinese AI companies. That's do that at your own risk kind of stuff. That's going to be a no thank you from me right now. Even if it's cheaper, I don't always go for we have an anonymous question. I don't always go for the cheapest thing out there. I usually want to go for the best value, which is balancing the money you're paying and all the things that you're investing, your time, your money, your resources, and the value that you get out of it. Okay, we have a anonymous question, so we're going to switch over to that. But thank you to Ana Lucia. This was definitely an interesting topic, and we certainly haven't heard the last of it. Neither am I. If their optimization stuff gets out and companies can learn from it, it's a good thing. Okay, so let's paste what we just got, and I'll make the font a little smaller so we can read it. Thank you for the anonymous question. It says, I'm seeing ambition in my peer group completely collapsing at the moment, mostly due to AI fears and the overall trends of politics, financials, etc. Positive thinking helps, but there is a sense of dread that is looming over everything. What's your advice for staying positive and productive when it seems like the world we have, all known, is completely gone? We have a say in the future, but it might only be a small one. It's hard to dream when you're worried about living in a nightmare. Thank you for that. Thank you for that very serious and important question. Thank you for sending it in and trusting me to hopefully give you a helpful answer. That's big, and I'm honored. I feel that. Thank you. So there's a lot of pieces in this question that I want to take a look at. So we've got the pieces of what the heck is going to go on with work, because there's lots of questions about jobs, and everything feels like it's collapsing and AI could take your job, or companies are just going to lay people off for kicks or to free up money to blow on AI or who knows what. So there's a lot of questions in here. So first of all, when it comes to trying to figure out what other work that you can do, obviously I'm still recommending my Life After Tech book. It's still extremely relevant, and we are starting a cohort course this week if you want some free coaching along with, well, not free, heavily discounted coaching along with it. So check that out on our courses page. Just go to dcx.to, find where it says courses, and you'll see the cohort there. Very nicely priced. The book is $18, so that's also nicely priced. You'll get a digital book with the course. So that is still my advice on how to figure out some other career and work options. So let's go in slow motion in this person's question, because there's a lot of interesting pieces here that I wanna get through. I'm seeing ambition in my peer group completely collapse. So people are losing ambition. They're losing that drive. They're running out of steam. They might be getting burned out. And that's definitely a sign to be taking seriously. And my first thought would be, it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. Give yourself permission to feel that way. We don't want anybody sinking into depression or spiraling down into mental health issues, but it is okay to take a look at reality and not be happy with it, and be with that a little bit. And if that causes you to feel less ambitious about your current career, maybe there's a message in there for you. And Ana Lucia. Thank you, Ana Lucia. Ana Lucia is going to be promoting my longer version of my course, which is in late May, on atomic product market fit and my Claude skills. Okay, so positive thinking helps, but there's a sense of dread looming over everything. It's hard to dream when you're worried about living in a nightmare. So when you feel that way, I usually don't love the positive thinking idea. And we even talk about this in the Life After Tech book, that sometimes the positive thinking, just stay positive, something good will happen, cheerleading stuff can make people accidentally feel worse when the relief they're waiting for doesn't come, or doesn't come soon enough. And that can, again, spiral people down into feeling worse. And so I don't tell now I'm putting on a different hat, and I don't have a hat for this yet. Let's see if I can find a hat for today. Let's see. Let's get the sage advice hat. Hold on. Okay, let's put on the sage advice hat, though unfortunately I'm in front of it's a green hat in front of a green screen, but you get the drift. So let's put on a different hat for a moment, because I am a certified life coach. And I know some people are thinking, oh, life coaching, is she going to tell me what my zodiac is? No, proper life coaching doesn't tell you what to do or how to do it. The best form of life coaching, the system that I'm part of, which is the ICF, is all about asking you questions so you can peel away the layers and find your own clarity. It's not for me to tell you what to do or not do or how to feel. So let's take a life coaching approach to this and see if it helps anybody who's listening or watching this later on the YouTube archives. So, how do you stay positive and productive when it seems like the world we've known is completely gone? Okay, how do we stay positive and productive? Now I'm going to ask that back to you. What are things that you do that help you feel positive? People usually have at least one thing. That could be, and again, I'm not giving you advice here, I'm just throwing out some examples. Usually something artistic or creative helps people feel positive and express themselves. Drawing, painting, sculpting, dancing, singing, art in all forms, art and creativity in all forms, but sometimes reading, going for a walk, a bike ride, playing with a pet. There are definitely things that we can do that can help us feel good and bring some positivity into our life. Things that we would call self-care, taking care of yourself and doing the things that recharge your batteries or put your own oxygen mask on. So what are those things? And they might cost you nothing, like going for a walk, or they might cost you something, like certain hobbies cost money. Some people like to try to do some traveling. That might cost money. Sometimes my husband and I, we have a little camper, like a really small RV, and sometimes we just take it out to the sea and have a picnic. No computers allowed. That's just a really nice way to disconnect. So again, I'm not giving advice here. I'm just giving examples. And so the question comes back to you. How do you find positivity each day that you can hold on to? It could be family, a spouse, a partner, a special person, a child, a pet, hobbies. So I would say, what can you do to maintain a sense of positivity? This might also tie into another topic we go into in the Life After Tech book. How do you protect your headspace? Given what's going on in the world, do you need to know all of it in every moment? Have you benefited from that? Does it help you feel better? And so you might want to consider, what is the right amount for you? It's going to be different for each person, so I can't tell you what to do or not do. What is the amount of news or social media scrolling or things like that that you want to be a part of? And you can easily measure that by, after spending some time on social media, asking yourself the question, how do I feel now? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is completely depressed and miserable and not sure why I'm still here, which would be trouble, definitely therapy territory. And 10 is amazing, life is perfect, everything is great. Now, obviously, most people are going to come in between those two, but you can check yourself. What score do I give myself before I start going on social media, reading the news, watching the news, things like that? My score is 6. And now I've just spent 10 or 15 minutes on Facebook. What's my score? Negative 4,000, or whatever your score is. So my thought is, if social media lifts you up, improves your life, feels good, then you want to include it in your life and you want to find the right amount of time for it. If social media and the news does not make you feel better, does not improve your life, you might consider taking in less of it. Most of my close friends know that I take in nearly zero news. I do not watch the news. I do not read news articles. I catch a couple of headlines here and there between news things that happen to pop up on LinkedIn, news things that happen to end up in our Discord, but that's rare. Usually it's tech news. And I do look usually each day a little bit at the social media platform Blue Sky. I'll pick up a few headlines there, but in general, I am not reading and watching and going into the articles and watching the videos and sharing them and all that. And so that way I can protect my headspace and create those boundaries. I also have my phone set to only give me 10 minutes of blue sky each day, and then the app closes. Same for LinkedIn. I think I have LinkedIn set to 15 minutes only because I get lots of private messages there. And then the app closes for the day and I can't open it again. And that's just fine. The reality is that most of the things that are news do not directly affect our day-to-day. And if they are going to affect our day-to-day, there's a good chance somebody will mention them to us. I've got a couple of very close friends who read the news a lot. They know everything that's going on. And they know in general to tell me nothing unless they think there's something really important happening and they want to check if I've heard about it. So then I'll find out about it. But in general, there's a lot of stuff I don't know about, and I'm fine. I like to joke I'm getting younger. So if you want to feel more positive, and when you say productive, what does being productive take? Energy? Focus? Insert your own words here. I can't tell you what productive means to you or what it takes to be productive, but those would be a few of my guesses. Sorry, I get all these spam emails. I wish I didn't get so many spam emails. So what does it take? Well, that means first you have to define what productive is. What's productive? Maybe it's focus. Maybe it's doing things that match your values. What are your values? What do you value the most? You can go to my dcx.to website, and under Take Action, there's a list of values. It's free. You just look at it. You don't have to sign up or do anything. There's no paywall there. It's not a list of every value on the planet, but it'll give you some ideas. See which ones pop out at you, and do a little exercise around that. What are maybe 3, 4, 5 of those values that you want to focus on, maybe just for the rest of the year? And this is what you're going to focus on, and this is what's going to guide you. And that way you can say, my values are X and Y and Z. Would watching a 20-minute video about the latest political scandal match those values? What headspace is it likely to leave me in afterwards? Can I imagine my future self after watching a 20-minute video about the latest scandal or whatever? Do I want that? So I think some future self projections can help. And yes, Ana Lucia is right. Ana Lucia says, if you think therapy may help, go ahead. You have to think about yourself. Reaching out for help is nothing to be ashamed of. You may need better coping skills. Totally true. Life coaching is not therapy. Therapy is not life coaching, and we don't cross over there, and it is against our code of ethics to cross into therapy. So I'm certainly not acting as a therapist right now. Therapy can help as well, can give you coping skills. But if I were to approach this from a life coaching lens, I would say, let's get focused on your values. Let's get focused on your goals. You say you want to be more positive and productive? Cool. What do you want to produce? What are your goals? Are your goals related to your day job? Are your goals related to starting or running your own business or side thing? Are they related to something you're trying to achieve this year, a new skill you're trying to learn? What is it? Because sometimes we say, I want to be more productive. I want to be more productive. What does that mean to you? That's going to mean something different to every single person. And part of life coaching is we gently challenge people to define words that we all thought were common and we all assume we know what they mean, but we might not. What's productive mean to you? Could be totally different from what I think it is. So take a look at what productive means to you, and then think about how can you get there. What might you have to try differently? What can you create for yourself? Whether that's more boundaries, like from news or whatever, or maybe it's more openness to activities, people, friends, things that recharge you. Whatever, or it's something else. I'm just guessing right now. So think about the things. Chances are when I ask you, what helps you feel productive, or what helps you feel positive, what improves your mood, you already have some things popping to mind. Great. Can you make time for those every day? Maybe, maybe not. What about every other day? How often can you bring these into your world and your practice? Ana Lucia says, I'm afraid this person may be reaching an unhealthy state. If they're burned out, depressed, or anxious, please reach out to a therapist. Put yourself first. Yes, of course, absolutely. Ana Lucia is right, and I totally agree. Depending upon how you feel and how it's affecting your mental health and your day-to-day functioning, certainly pursuing therapy is, I recommend it. Therapy has helped me many times in my life. When I've had a bad therapist, I fired them. And when I've had a good therapist, it absolutely changed my life for the better. So I agree. Do not delay. People can do therapy and life coaching for separate things, or they might choose to focus on one. I have some life coaching clients who put things on pause to focus on therapy. Totally support that. You have to do what's right for you, and I can't tell you what that is. And if you have a life coach telling you what to do or what's right for you, they're not a life coach. They're a fake therapist. Fire them. When you say it's hard to dream when you're worried about living in a nightmare. Yes, obviously life is getting difficult for many people, and difficult in different ways for different people. So can you still dream? Maybe the dreams are the same. Maybe the dreams are different. Maybe the dreams get bigger or smaller or evolved in some way. Can you still allow yourself to dream? What would that dream look like? If you're aware of what's going on the planet right now and you have some worries about it, what can your dreams still be? You can still have dreams. You can still get some things done. You can reach some goals. You can be creative and artistic. So what kinds of dreams seem even partially possible? Maybe it's hard to dream the impossible right now, but what about the partially possible? And I would say one thing we always say in life coaching is catch yourself. So if you are feeling, if you find that you're really spiraling down and it's hard to spiral back up, catch yourself, notice that, and definitely try to find the right help for you, which may be therapy. Again, I can't tell you what to do. I don't know who you are, but that may be an option. So catch yourself. Catch yourself in the moment when you feel fear is eating at you. Catch yourself in the moment when you feel positive and love and sunshiny and sparkly. Catch yourself in all these things and try to think about what's making me feel that way right now. What can I control? And what do I want to do about this right now? Some people want to draw it. They want to dance it. They want to sing it. They want to journal about it or other writing. See if you can combine some of these things with whatever your creative strength might be. But start by catching yourself so that you have a good awareness of what you're feeling and when, what might have caused it, so that you can see what you can control. Like, oh, great, I just read Facebook for a half hour and now I feel like the whole world is just melted into a pot of hell. Okay, then hypothetically, how much time do you want to spend on Facebook? I can't tell you the right answer. Could be the same amount, could be less, could be more. You know, what works for you? Ana Lucia says, I also had therapy. I'm quite thankful for it. A therapist needing therapy. The irony. No, there's no irony there. Even life coaches have life coaches. So it's always good to get help from somebody, whether that's some help from caring, supportive, nurturing, helpful friends, or qualified professionals like therapists, or accredited life coaches, which of course I believe in as well, but it's not a replacement for therapy. So person who wrote in, please write us again at dcx.to/q and let me know what you're thinking now, if you're comfortable sharing it, and if you have any follow-up questions. And if you're watching this and you didn't ask this question, but you have a follow-up question, ask it. You can put it in the chat. Your name will come up on it. Or you can send it anonymously to dcx.to/q, and that will come into my email, and we'll take a look at it. And again, you can send questions 24 hours a day to dcx.to/q. But if the show is not happening, I save them for the next show. Remember, we're not broadcasting next Wednesday because I'm going to be doing one of my courses on my new Claude skill for researchers. So and you can sign up for that if you'd like. But it will mean no Wednesday stream next week. I will be teaching peeps how to use my new Claude research skill. So we'll wait a few minutes and see if anybody's got a follow-up. The Claude skill, it's so nice. Thank you. Ana Lucia got to see an early version of it, along with some of the people who took my course a week or so ago. I'm working on some more skills now, but the course next week will be teaching the same skill Ana Lucia saw. Of course, you will get a free copy of the skill, and you will learn how to use it. It's designed to help you with research analysis, synthesis, segmentation of your audiences, problem finding, problem solving, problem statements, root causes, and so much more. So it's a pretty neat skill that is designed to augment you and not replace you, because we still need to start with good research data, which is humans talking to and observing humans. Still no replacement for that. Julian Vera, or Julian, I don't know how you want to pronounce that. Julian, hi Debbie, maybe a broad question. Okay, great, we have a question. I want to know what you think about the impact of AI in the UX design process, for example, processes like Double Diamond. Okay, great, let's put this on the screen. And we shall answer that. Thank you for joining on the YouTube. Okay, so here's the question that we got. Oops, wrong direction. Let's make it nice and big if possible. Here we go. So what's the impact of AI in the design process like Double Diamond? So remember that the typical Double Diamond, which I don't have a graphic of, but you'll certainly, I mentioned it in my Atomic Product Market Fit book. You've got essentially 4 phases. So first you are defining the problem. So that's going to be your early research, generative, discovery, exploratory, where you are defining the problem, understanding the problem space, understanding people and contexts and tasks and things like that. Then the diamond converges. Here, I've got it in the book. Let's do some reading together. Everyone turn in your hymn books to page, who can find it before me? Hold on. I got it. Page 69. So, if you have Atomic Product Market Fit, my relatively new book. So, let's talk about it. So, first of all, the first diamond, understand the problem. Discover is learning everything you can about experience ecosystem dimensions, which I explain in the book. Explore, investigate, and research before we try to solve anything. Define the problem. Excellent research helps us better understand our audiences, the market, pain points, our competitors, and opportunities. Define problem statements from users' perspectives. The diamond expands as we learn and converges as we narrow in on research insights and problem definitions. Let's start there with the first diamond. So where can AI impact, let's say positively, the first diamond? I would have to plug my own Claude skill there and some of my coming Claude skills because I think, and what I've been using AI for gosh, almost 2 years now, is in the analysis, synthesis, and reporting areas of the research process. And so that way, when I plan the research myself, some people use AI there. I don't. I think I write better questions than AI because I can tell what it was trained on, and I'm not thrilled with it. So I still do the planning myself. The recruiting I still do myself, but since I have a patent on better recruiting, I'm working on a Claude skill that utilizes that patent. Watch this space. So I'm not doing that yet, but I will be using that once I've built it. But again, that's just going to give you some automation. It's not going to solve every problem. I still run the sessions myself. I do use AI tools for transcription. And then I bring the transcripts into Claude for, unless a client says I'm not allowed to use my Claude skill, which again is going to help with analysis, synthesis, problem statements, root causes, ask me anything, anytime. So that is, that's a key area where I'm going to use that. And then I also take that into my reporting. So once I get through that skill, I have a lot of great information. The insights are there. The actionable suggestions are there. And then I can take that into my reports. So that's a lot of the first diamond, because the first diamond is really that early discovery research and what we learn from it, so that when we get to the second diamond, which is going to be solving problems, we have a good foundational set of knowledge about people and systems and tasks and perspectives and motivations and things like that. So the first diamond to me is there's a lot you can't replace with AI because humans have to do it or they're still better at it. But then there are things that I am using it for that I think can be done well with the right tools. And for me right now, that's Claude. Copilot stinks at it. Some people like Notebook LM, but I didn't. Some people like Gemini, but I didn't. Some people like ChatGPT, and I tested it last year and I thought it was good, but I haven't tested it more recently. So now let's talk about the second diamond. I'm on page 70 now. Second diamond, design the solution. This phase includes develop and deliver, which might be confusing as those terms are often associated with engineering tasks. Here, develop means developing solutions, brainstorming, solution exploration, designing, and prototyping. Deliver represents the testing, iteration, or complete rethinking of possible solutions. The finalized solution will be delivered to engineering, manufacturing, or the teams responsible for producing it. The diamond expands as we consider possible solutions and converges as we test them, improve them, possibly pivot, and narrow our way to the best solution for our experience ecosystem. Okay, so where can AI help you with that? A few places. So for example, first we want to make sure we have good evidence, data, and knowledge from the first diamond, that discovery or generative research phase. We bring that into our solution brainstorming. My Claude skill that I'll be doing the course on next week. So again, check out courses, dcx.to/courses. The skill ends with brainstorming solutions with Claude. Now, again, you don't have to do that. You can do that with each other. You might be great to brainstorm with. Your teammates might be great to brainstorm with. I'm not a design thinking, design sprints person, so I usually don't run workshops around brainstorming. I'm usually pretty picky about how I want other people to brainstorm. One thing I've said over and over is I want to get ideas from people, not the exact execution. So I don't have people drawing screens. That's the execution of an idea. I just want your ideas. So can AI help us with brainstorming solutions? It depends. It really depends on the AI. Some AIs are trained on very limited things, and so when you try to ask them for a solution, they can only pull from what already exists, and so you're not going to get innovation. You could get a good idea, but it may or may not be an innovation, something completely new, an invention never before seen. But that might be okay. You might just want a good solution. That can come from a human, or it could come from a decent AI. Something like Notebook LM might struggle with that more because the only data it uses is the data you upload into the system. It doesn't have broad general training on other things happening on the planet. I tested something with Notebook LM while writing the book some months ago, and it didn't even know what Amazon's return process was, and so it was giving me bad advice when I was testing it on coming up with solutions, for which weren't Amazon related, but you'd have to read the book to hear the story. Too long right now. So I think AI can play some part in that. And in my skill, I have Claude coming up with solutions, but I also have given it guidelines on how to challenge those solutions. Because if you have that good research data and you've done that analysis and synthesis, and in my skill, you're also creating strategies for solving the problem. That's the piece that's missing. Where in the double diamond does it say, now come up with a strategy that's going to be your guideline and your North Star to solve this problem well without creating new problems? That's not in there. So in part 4 of the book, I add that to the process, a step or a phase for coming up with that strategy. I have a template for the strategy, and my skill will write you a strategy in that template, but then collaborate with you on refining it. So we want to make sure the solutions fulfill the strategies. So there are some things that AI can do there. We know that AI can now create prototypes, but I noticed in creating prototypes in both Claude Chat and in Claude Design that I am much faster and better than the average bear, from what I can tell from people writing crap on LinkedIn and other places, because I've been a designer for many years. So instead of me saying to Claude Design, I think people are going to need a form here, maybe they need a button that's going to have a thing, you try something. Well, I don't have to do that because as a designer, I have in my head how this might look and work, and I can just say, try making the thing, let's take a look at it. Just like when I used to use Axure for prototyping, I have an idea in my head, I bring it to life in Axure, I make it interactive with Axure back in the day, and then I can test out my own prototype a little bit and see if I feel like I'm solving the problems well without creating new problems. And so I think that there can be some design in better AI tools, whichever ones those might be. Everyone should try a few different ones and see which one's good. We've got a follow-up from the person who asked about positivity and feeling better about the world. Julian, how am I doing so far? Is this making sense? Do you have a follow-up question? Because I think that in a good scenario, there are good, I think Claude Sonnet can be used to help us with some of these, but some of it I don't want Claude or any AI tool to touch, that I still think humans should be involved. I think even if we're using a tool to create the design, it should still be done by designers because they're better at it. Julian says, I have some doubts regarding the limits of delegating analysis and making sense of data. Researchers and designers discuss research. That's only because you haven't seen my skill. It's funny. I keep hearing that from people who are serious researchers, and so I certainly respect them, but they haven't seen what my skill can do. I've worked very hard to make sure Claude can do a great job with analysis and synthesis, making sense of data and finding nuance, and I'm very impressed by what it does with my skill. Julian says, develop and exercise thinking skills when they deal with complexity on their own. I believe it's an important way of learning. Yeah, but I've been doing that for 30 years, and I still do it when I use Claude. It's not, I think another thing that people assume is if you have an AI tool or Claude skill, you're turning off your thinking and you're just going to let it do everything. My Claude skill is written to stop and collaborate with you. For you to challenge it and for it to challenge you, to use critical thinking, to double check things. There is nothing in my Claude skill that is going to allow you to be lazy or turn off your thinking. In fact, one of the first things it does is look at your data and completely judge the quality of your data. Julian says, don't we risk losing knowledge when we delegate these thinking processes to machines? Julian, how would that happen? How would I lose knowledge? Now, again, I'm not delegating a thinking process to a machine. I'm still doing thinking. The machine is just a tool I'm using to organize all of this stuff. Again, I think the problem is that people are so excited about AI that they are delegating their thinking to it. They're saying, well, I don't want to have to think about this. Claude, you just make a thing. I'll copy and paste it into my report. My skill's not going to let you do that. And if that's how you want to use AI, you're not going to like my skill. So I don't think you can lose knowledge. It's like riding a bicycle. If you are already a great researcher, you're not going to become a worse researcher unless you're okay with becoming a worse researcher. Yeah, Ana Lucia says, you don't delegate your thinking to AI. You use it as a thinking partner. If you don't use it properly, you could get wrong data. Yeah, I think it's weird. I think there is this assumption about AI that it's like all or none. I'm either not going to use it at all for research, which is how I felt a couple of years ago, or, oh my God, it's just going to do everything and it's probably going to do it badly. And that's an assumption. And especially as researchers, hey, why are you holding on to those assumptions? You know, I can only ask people to try my skill and to check it out. Yes, it's not free. Yes, I'm asking people to pay for it. I spent weeks on it. I deserve a little bit of money for it. But here's the thing, as AI likes to say. I can do all of this complexity on my own, and I have for many years. But now I'm happy that I have a tool that's helping me handle this in less time. My reports are still long. My reports are complex. I just gave a report to a client the other day. I think it was 80 slides. So it's not like I'm saying, hey, Claude, let's read my transcripts and give me 3 slides on what the key takeaways are. Copy, paste, Debbie's done. That's not how this works at all. If you're doing that, I do not agree. So I don't think you're going to lose knowledge. And I don't know why people are saying that to each other. Julian, what knowledge do you think you're going to lose if a good AI tool helped you do high quality work more efficiently? Let's say that exists. I believe it exists, but I also created it. To me, it didn't exist until I created it. I don't understand what knowledge you're going to lose. I have to say in general, I don't understand the people who act like, oh, I'm using AI and now I can't think anymore. My thinking's not as good as it used to be. I can't think. I don't understand what these people are doing. I mean, we all got microwaves, but we can still cook and eat. You know, like, just because you use a new tool or a new method doesn't mean you completely fall apart. Anna says, I can understand Julian's point. Oh, hold on, I'm getting some anonymous stuff. Looks like we're going to run late today. Companies are pressuring workers to automate their work and be AI babysitters. That's not how research should work. Yeah, but you don't have to use it that way. I mean, if your company's forcing you to use AI in everything for bad reasons, whether or not the outputs are good, whether or not the outcomes are good, then you might still be very good at thinking. You might still have plenty of knowledge because you can recognize that the outputs are bad. Someone who's lost their knowledge and can't think critically anymore would look at an AI output and go, I don't even know if that's good or not. I can't think anymore. But you can think because you look at it and you go, oh, this is not good. This is a bad output. And person who's writing the anonymous questions, we are getting them, and I'm going to get to them once I'm sure we've covered what Julian's talking about. So thank you for sending that stuff in. So I think that we're using this to scare each other. We're using this whole, you're not going to be able to think anymore, or you're going to lose knowledge. I feel like I'm doing my work better. If Claude went away tomorrow, I would happily go back to all of my old ways, and I would do excellent, high-quality work in every area where I apply myself. I don't believe in low-quality work. But with Claude on my team, and especially based on the skill that I wrote, things that used to take me 3 weeks now take me 1 day. I like that. My clients like that. My coworkers like that. But I'm not losing knowledge. I'm not using my thinking skills less. I'm using them more. And Ana Lucia can speak to this because she's actually seen the demo of my skill. So she's seen that the skill requires you to think critically, requires you to challenge it, requires you to challenge yourself. There's nothing in the skill. I've seen a couple of people put out AI tools and Claude skills and they go, it's going to do everything in research for you. That's not my promise. I'm not promising that at all. And I think anybody who's promising that, one, should check themselves, because now they're going to teach companies they don't need researchers. They just need this skill. So congratulations on getting people fired. And two, if it handles recruiting, you might be infringing my patent, and you'll hear from me soon. Ana Lucia says, if you outsource your brain to AI, yes, that can happen. But AI shouldn't be used like that, at least not in UX. AI is not good enough to simply take its word for it. It can't be a researcher. Maybe it can help your design work, but it can't do all the previous work you should do. And Julian stopped writing in, so I don't know what happened there. Julian, are you still with us? Julian, are you okay? I'm happy to take follow-up questions on this and go late today, but first let's turn our attentions back to our earlier question person who sent 2 anonymous emails in about, I don't know what, because I haven't read it yet, but in response to what they were saying before. So this is going to be very small on the screen, but I will read it out loud. The 2 emails say, good point about asking myself what is productive to me. Life coaching. I like what you said about paying more attention to how my activities lead me to feel. I feel that I don't have enough time or energy to do things that will push my life forward. I know I'll need to remove things from my life. I sometimes catch myself and realize a lot of what I'm doing is trying to cope with current circumstances rather than charting a real path and cutting out things that don't serve me. And I find it incredibly hard to slow down and do things more methodically. There's a sense of guilt they should be. Slowing down reveals this to me. This is one of the biggest hurdles I deal with. I'm sure everybody deals with this, but I don't know that I found a great strategy for myself. Trying to create new positive habits can feel like I'm doing something wrong, even though I recognize it's a good thing on a longer time scale. Yeah, and again, if we pop back into life coaching territory, again, not a therapist, but if we pop back into life coaching territory, I would just be asking questions. Most of ICF style life coaching is asking questions, not telling you stories about me, which I do a lot on this channel, not telling you what I think you should do, which I do a lot on this channel, but I'm trying not to do right now with this because this is definitely life coaching territory and I want to try to stay as much as I can in that ICF style. So, trying to create new positive habits can feel like I'm doing something wrong, even though I recognize it's a good thing on a longer time scale. So on the Take Action page on the dcx.to website, we've got an exercise called Inner Critic and Higher Self. These exercises are all free. Just do them if you want, you know, do them, don't do them, change them, make them your own. And the idea is to get more in touch with both the inner critic, the negative voice that says, you're doing something wrong, you're not good enough, this isn't the right path or whatever. And sometimes the inner critic has a good message, but in general, the inner critic tends to poop on us a lot. And then we have the higher self, however we see that. And sometimes that ends up in a spiritual place for people and sometimes it doesn't. But who is our higher or best self? And what messages can they bring us? What messages can they bring us from our future self? Imagine we've reached some goals that we'd like to reach and our future self looks back and says, hey, now that I'm here and I got there, got a couple of tips for you. So that could be an interesting exercise to do, and probably to dig more into questions around what about creating positive habits feels wrong? What messages do you give yourself about creating new habits? It might be good to tease that out a bit to see what messages you're giving yourself about that. When we talk about not having time or energy to do things that push life forward, that's an interesting, Julian says, of course, I've been thinking about everything we're discussing. Thanks, Julian. I understand your ideas. I agree with you. The industry is going through complicated times. We don't know where AI is going to stop. AI is not going to stop, Julian. It's going to keep going. We can only do the best we can in each moment and plan for some career that'll take us to retirement. So back to this person on the screen now. I like what you said about paying more attention to how my activities lead me to feel. Yes. In ICF coaching, we get training on working with people on identifying emotions. Now, again, some people say, oh, isn't that therapy? Well, I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm not telling you what your emotions are, and I'm not giving you a diagnosis. I'm just saying, hey, you're saying things and you have thoughts, but what are you feeling right now? I've gotten a feelings list on my website. Hey, if you're not sure, let's open up the feelings list. What are you feeling right now? And then in ICF coaching, we learn about somatics, which is the idea that sometimes when we have a feeling, and especially a strong feeling, we feel it somewhere in our body. It kind of manifests physically. Sometimes people will say, oh, it's like this choking feeling, or, oh, I feel a tightness in my chest, or, oh, my hand gets this weird pain. Hey, let's notice that. Let's make a note of that. And let's go into that a little bit more and try to see what message does your body have for you. Maybe one message, maybe more than one message, but there's a message there. Your body is giving you a clue that there's something it wants you to hear. And sometimes it's something that's easy to hear. It could be something that's not easy to hear, but these are some of the concepts we work in life coaching. There's nothing in life coaching about astrology or spirituality or God. We don't bring that in. You can bring that in if you want. I'm not bringing that in. But I would also, and again, this is probably things that would happen over many life coaching sessions. And by the way, first one's free if you want to give it a try. what blocks you from having the time? You're saying, I don't have time or energy to do things that push my life forward. What blocks you from having the time to push your life forward? And again, what would pushing your life forward look like? This is where we kind of start to establish some of the goals that we tend to go through in ICF style life coaching. What does pushing your life forward look like? How will you know when you're getting close? What would it look like to get there? Can you ever get there, or is it always a journey? What's your next stop? What does that look like? We've got some more coming in, I think, from this person. So, yeah. So again, to this person, I certainly invite you to consider my life coaching. Go to dcx.to. The first one's free. I hope I can help. You know, everything's confidential. I'm not going to come back to YouTube and go, hey, everybody, I met that person, and here's who they are, and here's how they felt. No, that would violate the code of ethics. So, anonymous person just said, oops, wrong direction. The negative feelings around creating new habits is that even if I do this new thing, it won't be enough. It's an assumption, and I recognize that. I know if I can establish a new pattern, that would be new information. It's a sense of, even if I struggle and get this figured out, it won't be enough. Won't be enough for who? This sounds like inner critic stuff. So I think that we could start to peel away the layers and break this open a bit if we can get more in touch with that inner critic voice and the messages it has for you, and where the inner critic gives you helpful messages that ultimately protect you and save you from mistakes. Like sometimes fear is helpful and sometimes fear isn't. So what are the inner critic's messages for you that might be helpful, that might be productive? And what are the inner critic's messages for you that aren't helpful, that aren't productive, and that you don't want to hear or listen to or say to yourself or say to others? So ideas of it won't be enough is definitely something to the in-life coaching that we would dig into. What does enough look like? What does it feel like? Draw it. Draw me enough. What does it look like? How do we get there? Can you ever get there? What if you can't get there? What's the next stop? What's the next goal? And can the next goal be enough until you reach that goal and create another goal? I don't know. Ana Lucia says, here's a note from the therapist in me. I'm certified, and that's my background. There's a misconception